What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for joining. Hope you're having a great one today. As always, just a reminder that Sideshow Con is right around the corner. And if you want a nice little 10% off your next Hot Toys purchase, there you go. Today, we're taking a look at 1/6-figure Loki. And if for some reason you're not sure who that is, we're taking a look at Sylvie, aka Lady Loki, from the wonderful show on Disney Plus. One of the few ones that I actually really liked. I think they knocked it out of the park with this show. I can't wait for season 2. But definitely a cool character. I'm not a huge fan of regular Loki, so I was pretty happy that they made this version. Now they do have a nice little gold embossing on the bottom, which I thought was pretty fancy. The slip is pretty straightforward for the most part, and as you can probably tell, I've already yanked her out of carbonite. To be honest, it took me a long time to get this sleeve off of the cool little purple box that you get, which we will take a real fast look at. They did decorate this with kind of the yellow edge similar to the Time Door, which I thought was nice. You get the little TVA logo there, a fun little clock on the bottom, and on the back gives you the Time Variance Authorities seal, which really kind of cool. Also, I love the shade of purple, so I was happy with that. Kind of did a great job there. As for the figure, there's a bunch of fun stuff with it. Overall, I was pretty pleased. The one thing I will say that I was not terribly happy with was the price. That is probably the biggest downside to this lady, is she was close to $300 once it was all said and done, which I really like the character in the show, so I don't mind, but all things considered, I've seen like the deluxe Wonder Woman on sale for the same price, and I, if given the option, would rather have that. You do get this cool little Time Door accessory that you can use and kind of prop up. It comes with just kind of a generic clear plastic thing that you snap onto the bottom. Nothing too fancy, it's just kind of a nice little added touch. Probably super cheap to make, but really just kind of goes a little bit further for what you're spending on it. I was happy with it. One of those things that they didn't need to add, but it's cool that they did. The figure itself is amazing. We're going to take a look at her in just a moment. I did take some of her tape off, but I still have a piece on her foot, so we might have to battle with that. One thing I did want to show real quick is the super cool extra hand sculpts. I honestly thought that these were just going to be generic energy effects, but it's actually 2 separate hands that have them on there, and they just did a really cool job with that. I was very impressed as a whole. Kind of blew me away. I love the color green too, so that worked out to my favor. I'm like, all right. One of the things that I like. Can't go wrong there. So the figure itself, really fantastic. There you go. They did a great job with the sculpt. They are all hand-painted, which is pretty dang cool. So I guess there's technically the possibility yours might look a little bit different, but I really doubt it. Honestly, they just did a great job. I love the sculpted hair. I hate rooted hair myself, so kudos to them for doing it this way. And just really knocked it out of the park. I do wish it had movable eyes. It sadly doesn't. Not the end of the world, but a lot of Hot Toys have been doing them lately, and I think for the cost, they probably could have done it, especially because it looks like you could pretty easily get the hair off if you needed. But I digress. So the outfit is pretty amazing. It's very close to screen accurate as far as I can tell. I didn't really see anything that stood out as unusual. You do get a ton of range of motion, which is awesome. One thing that I am a little concerned with down the road is basically all of this kind of fake leather stuff. This usually can flake on people depending on the environment that it's stored in. So I just worry that, 4 or 5 years down the line, maybe even sooner, this might start to crack and wear. Or if you keep her in a pose, you might get, some kind of nasty crinkles there. Now the actual fabric part, this part is more like a nylon, so you can go pretty wild with her legs. It does have a nice little double joint there, and you're really not going to have any major risk. I wouldn't suggest doing too much of a split there, but honestly, anything else, if you needed her sitting down, pretty much going to be able to do it with her. Really cool in that regard. Tons of posability. Really crushed it. For people that do body swaps, I think getting this vest off would be a huge pain in the butt, so I'm not sure I would recommend it myself. One little piece of plastic I still haven't gotten off. I'm going to have to cut that one, so we'll get to it later. There's no movement at all that I can tell in the foot. Apparently I can't say feet today. You might be able to twist it a little bit, I didn't really want to play with it too much, but it seems pretty stationary. Definitely no back and forth or side-to-side pivot of really any note, which in the grand scheme of things, just going to help her stand up. But I don't mind getting some articulation there when they can. The stand is really just kind of a plain Jane Loki base. Nothing too fancy. You get a generic crotch grabber with it, so I'm not going to bother pulling that out and looking at it, because in the grand scheme of it all, you've seen it before. And on to the accessories. They did a really good job with these, but this is kind of one of the other reasons I was upset with the actual price. When you consider it's, you know, $270 plus shipping, you're really not getting a ton. You do get the poncho, which I'll take a look at in just a moment, but you basically get one of the pruning stabs that she used. This was kind of a common thing to erase people in the show. Essentially, you eradicate them from the timeline. You get this amazing dagger, which I got to pull out and look at a little closer because it is fantastic. They did a great job with this. Really cool etching on the blade. Really cool, like, metallic blue that they used for it. It's just absolutely gorgeous. They did a good job with this. And honestly, it reminded me a lot of the White Ranger sword from Power Rangers Saba, the little tiger sword that he had. So I just kind of got nostalgia vibes when I saw it. Sort of made me happier than it needed to. I digress. You do get a couple other goodies, which we can pull out real fast. This is kind of a fun little one. It's one of the reset charges. Early in the show, she's basically planting these little bomb things throughout different timelines to essentially erase them. So you get this cool little explosive device here. You do also get a weird clear plastic explosion effect, which I will show you all in a moment. It is nothing to write home about, but this they actually did a really cool job with. And it's one of those kind of neat little accessories where you can sort of throw it into like any display and in the background and catch somebody's eye. I think it's pretty fancy. I liked it. Now the actual little temp pad that she gets is also pretty well done. No real complaints there. They did a good a job as you could imagine for the most part. You got the little disc thingy that slides in like so. Hopefully. Well, you get the idea. And then you can actually open it as well. Bloop. And she would use this to pull up those giant cool little doors and then hop on through to the next little area. So pretty neat. Did a dang good job with it. Like I said, for the most part, a lot of the stuff that they did on this I'm impressed with, but at the same time, definitely pricey. Now, the other two things that you do get with the figure that I'll take a real quick look at is going to be the little poncho that she's got, which, honestly, there's not too much to it. It is wired right around the neck, so you'll basically use that to keep it on her, and then the hood itself also has a wire up there. No wires in the base or anything like that, so it's just going to kind of hang, and there's no way to actually clasp it shut that I've been able to see. You do have some fake buttons on the inside there, but there's not really anything to hook them to. I don't think you're necessarily going to need to. To be honest, I think it's pretty much just going to stay on based on the wiring, but no real clasp. And the last but not least, or I guess in this case it would be least, because it is definitely the weirdest thing that they added. So this, I haven't even pulled it out of the actual plastic yet. This is the explosion effect for the reset device. I just don't really know what you would do with it. I don't know. Some people will have fun with it, I'm sure. In the grand scheme of things, it probably cost them next to nothing to make, so awesome that they threw it in there. I usually won't complain about free stuff, but it certainly is the least impressive out of everything that you get in the box. Overall, though, I was pretty happy. Eek. I'm a pretty big fanboy of hers, so happy to get a figure of it. Also, she was in a show, Into the Badlands, which was pretty dang cool. Random side note and tangent, if you haven't seen it and like sci-fi, if you're ever bored, check it out. That'll do it for this one. Thank you all so much as always. We'll see you next time.